O la iglesia, se la habéis podido ver, es muy bonita. Bien, aquí en verano hay que venir porque tienen muchos mejores lugares, más sitios para cerveza y viajes en barco. Espero que hayáis disfrutado. Antes de llegar a Bruselas, os daré las últimas recomendaciones. Algunos lugares para comida típica, os explicaré esa comida típica, cervezas también, que son muy famosas aquí en el país, y os pasaré un código QR, si queréis, bueno, alrededor de la Gran Plaza, los sitios más icónicos, cervecerías, pubs, restaurants, whatever, lo que sea, alrededor de la Gran Plaza, ¿de acuerdo? También os voy a contar esa batalla de Napoleón que ocurrió muy cerquita de Bruselas, ¿vale? Al sur, en la ciudad de Waterloo. Lo voy a explicar primero en inglés y luego os lo explico en español. Well, the Battle of Waterloo happened here in Belgium. It's a city super close to Brussels. Well, everybody know Napoleon, right? In the 1805, he started conquering all the continent of Europe, and he got almost all the continent. Well, several years later, the kingdom's allies captured him, and he sent him to the exile, to the island of Elba. He went there with some of the loyal officers, and well, several months later, he got escaped, and he reached to Paris again. In Paris, well, he reached there, and the king of France sent there the army to capture again the Napoleon. And well, in the front of him was the old general of Napoleon, the general Nate. In that moment was the Marshal Nate. Well, they have some words, a chat, and Napoleon convinced him and all the army to conquer again all the continent of Europe. Well, it's because of that in the 1814 he wasn't ready for the war. But well, he started to send letters to all the kingdoms, to the British, the Netherlands, Austria, Prussia, and Russia, for, well, the peace. But, well, they didn't won, because they won the war against Napoleon, not against France. They won against the kingdoms, the king of France. So they declared the war against Napoleon, and Napoleon thought the best attack is a quick attack. So he sent all the army to Brussels, okay? Well, in the way, he find the Duke Blücher from the Prussians, and Napoleon defeat Blücher. Well, after he defeat, he sent one part of three of the army to follow Blücher, but Blücher didn't come back to Prussia. He was waiting there. It's important to the end of the history, for the end of the history, okay? Well, he continued to Brussels. Napoleon was the master of the offensive, of the attack. He won more battles than the rest of all the strategy in the world together. Okay, he's super famous because of that. But well, in front of him, in Brussels, was the Duke of Wellington. The future Duke of Wellington, in that moment wasn't the Duke of Wellington. And well, Napoleon never fought against the British. The British never give up. And in that case, Wellington was the master of the defense. He decided the place where they want to defend the war. In that case, the battle was Waterloo. Waterloo is important because it's a big meadow with two farms, two fortress farms, the Hougomont and the Eysan farm. And in that meadow, behind they have a small hill, and Wellington was waiting there. In the case Napoleon want to attack, well, he's creating three canals, and from the hill he can bombing, Wellington can bombing the Napoleon. So the 17th of June, Napoleon reached to Waterloo, and well, the weather wasn't the best, was the muddy ground, so he decided to wait a little bit. He didn't make any order, and that night he was super sick. We know this 100 years later, because he was super sick. It's like you take 3-4 laxatives, you are riding a horse 30 kilometers, and all the night you are awake with a big fevers. Imagine the conditions of Napoleon. So that night he was super sick, and in the morning he woke up with well, shots. He heard some shots, and he said, "Who start the war without me permission?" Was Nate, the General Nate, start the first attack in the first skirmish.